Finally, to appreciate the full significance of this day, one must first know something of the history of the Royal House of Tonga, the only remaining monarchy in Asia. The first kings of Tonga appeared as early as 900 AD, the Tuitonga. By 1400, a second royal dynasty was created, the Tuihatakalaua. By 1610, the third and most powerful line of kings emerged, the Tuikanokopolo. All these royal lines continued into the 19th century. The 19th Tuikanokopolo was Taufa'ahau, who became known as King George I, ruling in Tonga for 48 years until 1893. A devout Christian, Taufa'ahau I united all the Tongan islands under his leadership, freed the commoners from bondage to the chiefs, and granted a constitution in 1875, thus becoming the father of modern Tonga. Unlike other Polynesian leaders, he was able to steer a political course that kept Tonga for Tongans, avoiding the specter of annexation to foreign powers. When pressed by some of his people to yield to a particular foreign country, the king declared in a sweeping gesture, "We will give Tonga only to God." Hence the Tongan national motto, "God and Tonga are my inheritance," imprinted on the modern Tongan seal. King Tubou II, great-grandson of King Tubou I, acceded to the throne in 1893. Suave and sociable, he married Lavinia Veiongo, the great-granddaughter of Laufilitonga, the last of the Tuitonga royal line. Mafileo Pilolevu, heir to the Tongan throne through two royal lines, and destined to be one of the most beloved personalities and leaders in the world. In 1917, Salote Pilolevu married Tungi Mailefihi, direct descendant of the Ha'atakalaua royal line. Well-educated and deeply immersed in Tongan history and traditions, Salote was crowned in 1918 to reign for 47 years. Salote's union with Tungi produced 3 children in whom all 3 royal lines come together. The youngest son, Tuku'ahau, passed away in childhood. In 1947, Queen Salote presided over the double wedding of her sons Prince Taufa'ahau and Prince Fatafehi, with Halaivalu Mata'ahau and Melenite Tupou Moheofo at the palace. Besides being involved in matters of state, Queen Salote became the foremost poet and genealogist in her nation, taking pains to gather, teach, and preserve the very best Tongan traditions and customs. Salote encouraged the arts in ways that made dancing and singing an enduring part of the Tongan nature. She espoused the enduring love of being Tongan in her subjects. During her reign, the palace grounds and the surrounding compounds became the center of cultural activities. Tall, majestic, and gracious, Queen Salote was more than a superb poet and statesman. She was preeminently a mother and grandmother. Clearly, Queen Salote was beloved among her own people. But when was it she captured the imagination and the hearts of the world? It was in London during the coronation ceremonies of Queen Elizabeth II of England. Tens of thousands lined the streets to see the parade of monarchs from around the world. Unfortunately, it was a wet and rainy day, and the royal carriages were covered for the protection of the visiting kings and queens of the world, but not Queen Salote's carriage. She refused to cover up, explaining that if the people could get wet in honor of England's queen, so could she. For in the Tongan custom, one would never seek one's own comfort in the presence of majesty. Queen Elizabeth returned the favor in a royal visit to Tonga in 1953. When Queen Salote passed away in 1965, the world mourned. but the legacy continues. One of the most important parts of this legacy is in the person of her eldest son, Taufa'ahau Tupou IV, crowned on July 4, 1967. The rightful heir to each of Tonga's royal titles, Taufa'ahau is a devout Christian and a devoted husband and father.